Welcome to another episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. My name's Nick Ponte. I'm here with Stephen Clark. How you doing?
How are you, Nick?
All right, mate. I'm going to say a couple of words here. Big up the Grafters. There's a little clue to who we've got.
Big up the Grafters or who we've got on today.
The spoiler alert. It's Craig Sullivan, aka Property Apprentice on Instagram. He's quite a celebrity, you've got to say, on Instagram.
You were a little fanboy, mate, during this interview.
I know, mate. I had the man love there, mate. Did you see it? Like, I was just like, oh.
It was quite funny. No, do you know, it was a cracking interview, actually. Really, really nice guy. Down to earth, like such authentic as well on social media. Good chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he specialises in student HMOs. We talk a lot about just his whole work ethic, where that big up the Grafters stems from, and those people who want to get involved in property. It's not easy. We know the hard work that it does involve, and that's where we kind of focus the chat. We talk about how he built his portfolio up to where he's at now, the JV partnerships that he's taken on, using social media as a tool for that, and obviously now what's happening in the current market and how he's sort of reconsidering where he's going with his investing strategy now. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got some good traction, and he's only 34, but he's already built up his portfolio of 24 HMO properties. Plus, I think he had about 64 under management and his letting agents as well.
Yeah, for sure. So go and give Craig a follow. It's Property Apprentice on Instagram, and we'll get right into the interview with Craig Sullivan. Okay, welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. Craig Sullivan, also known as the Property Apprentice on Instagram. Big up the Grafters!
Big up the Grafters!
Love it, mate. Listen, that's what you're well known for. Obviously, people who watch you on social media and Instagram. And I've got to say, I'm definitely a big fan of yours. I've been following your stuff for years now. And what was really refreshing for me was that when I started following the property people on Instagram, a lot of it is just so much bullshit, stuff you can't relate to. And we know, the three of us sitting here, it's fucking hard work. And when I saw your stuff, it just resonated with me. And it just hit home because you're out there, you're fucking down the B&Q, picking up materials, you're driving about in a Ford Focus. And, that's a fucking reality, mate. So yeah. I'm glad you started putting out content like that, because it just seemed like there was just so much bullshit out there. So hats off to you. Tell us about where the hard work ethic stemmed from. How is that built into you?
Yeah, so I mean, I totally agree. I mirror exactly what you said. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors on the Instagram game with regards to property development. And what you see is there's a lot more Instagram marketing than there is actually property development. And yeah, the more experienced you get in property, I think you can start to sift through that. But yeah, where did it stem from? So basically, it's my old man, mate, to be honest with you. He's an absolute grafter. He's like the OG in the family. And basically my granddad before him, he was a farmer. So like he gets stuck into it. And to be fair, he lived until he was 99. And he still had a farm. He still had sheep. He wanted to take on cows, but obviously my dad was like, no, hell no, you're too old for that. They'll take your head off. So yeah, it's all stemmed from that. Basically, it's basically in the bloodline. Like my granddad was a farmer. Then my dad came over. He was a general builder, and I've kind of just learned from him. And I got on the tools with him, helped him renovate his properties. And that's when I saw him accumulate wealth, and I thought, there's something to this. And then that's when I kind of went to university, saw a gap in the market for HMOs, and I thought, right, this is it. And then that's kind of when I jumped in, and the rest is kind of history.
Mate, you're looking about 99 now after becoming a dad, having your first child there.
Yeah, that as well. Jesus, that was a hand grenade into my life, that's for sure. Because the thing is, being a grafter, you work all hours of the day, you get stuff done, and eating up time is a big part of that. And then when the little one comes, your time's not your time anymore. It's their time, and you have to sacrifice that. So yeah.
How's that changed your life? Because obviously it's a massive transition, isn't it? Like you're out there all hours grafting, like we're used to seeing you on Instagram, you know, like late nights and all that, getting the projects finished and all the rest of it. But if you carry on down that route, the missus is not going to be happy, is she? So like,
yeah, exactly. As soon as Sienna came along, that was it. The chat happened. It was like, look, just so you know, I've been patient up until this point, but as soon as Sienna's here, you're home at 5:30, you're bathing her, you put it to bed. And I was like, yeah, do you know what? That's fair enough. But yeah, it was a complete change. So now I try and counteract that. I get up even earlier. So I'm a proper early bird now. Before I was getting up at like 7, and then getting out the door for about 8 o'clock. But now I'm up at 5, and then getting up out the door for about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So yeah, but it's trying to be smart with it now, trying to work a little bit smart with it. But no, I love it. I love coming home to Sienna, and it just cheers me up. Even though you've had the shittest day, you go home to Sienna, and she's at that age where she just loves you and cuddles you, and it's brilliant.
Brilliant. And tell us about those early days in property then, because you were actually on Homes Under the Hammer, weren't you? Like back when you're just a young pup. So like,
yeah.
What
So
about those first couple of properties then? Tell us about that.
Yes, so that was my very first purchase. So basically that was the very first one, and luckily it was at auction, and they were there. And I basically got my dad. He was in Ireland, so he moved over in 2007, and obviously we went to auction in 2008. This was the very first one that I got, and yeah, so we bought at the height at auction, and I was the youngest guy in there. I think I was like 20. I was 20 years old, and then yeah, I ended up I had a 10 grand deposit, and then I said to my dad, "Oh, I really like this house, and it's better, it's perfect location." And my dad at the time was like, "Yeah, whatever, Craig. Like if it's that good, let me know when the auction dates come, and we'll do it." And true to my word, I was like, "Dad, I'm just letting you know I'm en route to auction." He was like, "Whoa, what do you mean?" I said, "No, I'm getting that house," and he was just like, well, so literally on the phone, he was like, "Right, don't go over this price." And I was sending him pictures, but all I had was like this little thumbnail pictures of this property. Yeah. Anyway, I said to him I wanted it, and yeah, he didn't think I was going to get it at the price that we went in for, but we did, and that's kind of where it all started. And then that was where he came over from Ireland. And it was a 3-bedroom terrace with a downstairs reception room. We converted that into a bedroom, and it was not like the HMOs you see today, all en suite, all singing, all dancing. It was very basic, but it was above the competition at the time, and that's what got me in. And that's where I saw a gap in the market. And then my next one is where I bought solo. So I worked, I saved up, and yeah, again, auction. And that one needed a lot doing to it, and that's where I cut my teeth on the whole real building element of and electrics and everything like that, because I had to get it done because it was my house. So yeah.
What was the gap in the market you spotted, Craig? Is it professional tenants or is it student tenants?
Students. So I went to the Medway campus at university there, and the halls weren't built. So we had private landlord stock, and honestly, mate, the landlord stock was fucking horrendous. It's so bad, like so bad, to the point where you walk in, it looked like the landlord had just gone down the local charity shop and just kitted it out with the cheapest furniture, second-hand furniture. The TVs were like massive TVs, no flat screens or anything like that. It was one communal TV, horrendous. And it wasn't just the properties that were bad, it was also the service. So whenever anything went wrong, you call the emergency number, it'd go straight to an answer phone, and you wouldn't get anything done until like 2 weeks later. To which point I would have stepped in by that point and done some of it, because like I said, I was quite handy myself. So and to one point I had friends ringing me up saying, "Craig, my boiler's gone down, can you come around and top it up for me?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure that's your landlord's job." Do you know what I mean? So, but that's what it was like. And so that's when the penny dropped, and I thought, and it wasn't just my house, it was all my friends' houses as well. So yeah, when I had the money together, I thought, right, I'm going to make this work. So, and then it's just, yeah, kind of snowballed from that.
Nice.
And at what point did you decide, because you've got a letting agency down there in Medway, isn't it? Medway, Kent.
Medway, Kent, yeah.
So at what point, obviously, you carry on. I know you built your portfolio up to a point now. What are you sitting at now, by the way, properties that you own? So
I've got 24.
24, right? Okay. And the letting agency, how many do you manage?
64 in total, including those. Yeah. So
are they all HMOs or are they singlets as well?
All HMOs, all
Okay.
student HMOs. Yeah.
So how many? Because I was listening to a podcast before, and it was like, what's there, 300 tenants or something like that. But how many would it be? That was back in like 2020. So what?
That was our peak. Yeah, that was when we had 90 HMOs. So now we're down to about 160, 170 tenants now. Yeah, but it's still a handful. Honestly, I don't know how I did that before, but yeah, it's still a handful. They're still driving me mad.
You just do that yourself, or you got like you got anybody helping you with the admin?
Yes, I've got a team. So I've got Josh Bryant. He's my property manager. He's been with me for 5 years now. So shout out to Josh. And yeah, I trained him from the ground up. And then I had an admin person, but that didn't quite work out. So yeah, and obviously with things the way they're going with the white paper and stuff like that, I thought, you know what, I'll hold back. And I'll start doing some viewings and just take on a bit more just to see where this is going.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are. So yeah, the team at the moment is just myself and Josh, but we've also got like an army of trades. So we've got obviously my dad, he's still about, and he cherry picks what he wants to do. And then after that, we outsource it to all the trades. So we've got painters, handyman, roofers, plumbers, electricians, everything. Which is also good because then when I call on mate rates to renovate my houses, they're there as well. So it's all good.
Do you quite enjoy it? Because I'm a letting agent myself, right? And a lot of people turn around to me and say, I couldn't think of anything worse. Like, this must be awful. Like, I'll never do lettings. Usually it's the estate agents that go, I'll never do lettings. I'll never do lettings. Personally, I quite like a challenge, and it is a hard job, right? It's fucking hard work. In a kind of weird way, I do like dealing with the shit. I don't know about you, like
exactly the same. And the thing is, Nick, we're a rare breed because, like you said, but people wouldn't touch it with a barge pole because of the amount of shit that comes with it. And I could tell you a million stories.
Yeah.
You'd think,
what was the one I seen one time? It was like, oh man, you've had so many, but there was one with you end up in the police station or something like that with the weed or something.
Oh yeah. So my cleaner found like a big bag of weed and a sword at one of our houses, and she's as straight as an arrow. And she called me up and said, Craig, I need you to come to this property. And at that time, it was the height of checkout season. So I was in the middle of a checkout. I was like, oh, really? Can't it just wait? And she was like, no, Craig, I need you here now. So I was like, okay, something serious. So I zoomed around there and she's holding this sword and a big bag of weed. And I was like, what the fuck is that? So yeah, so I had to take it to the police station. But honestly, the looks that I got when I walked in, it was fantastic. It was a picture. But yeah,
I think that's what makes your stories and your Instagram account so addictive, is you're basically documenting all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? So like, the run-of-the-mill letting agent, you follow them and it's like, here's a 2-bedroom flat in the city centre for £900 a month. Come inside and have a look. You're fucking holding up a sword and a bag of weeds. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. And that's it, man. That's how it is. And yeah, I think a lot of people get a lot of value and a lot of entertainment out of it. And I'm just saying, this is the realities of it, right? This is what we deal with.
Talk to us then about the Property Apprentice. Then like obviously it doesn't really reflect. Like the name apprentice, obviously you'd put beside somebody who's kind of starting out, but obviously, was there a point where you were like, wait a minute, I've kind of outgrown this name now. Do I need to change my username? And like, the brand that you've built now, everybody knows you as Property Apprentice. The question is, why do you think that, excuse me, you've become so popular? Why do people follow you? What is it about you that kind of like, that stands out from the rest?
Well, I think it's because I'm different. Like you said, I tackle things at a different angle. I try and I'm not polished. So like you said, on Instagram, it's like some agency come up with very, very professional, and that's fine. That works for some people, but I'm not that way inclined at all. I'm like, look, this is it. This is how I do things. And either you like it or you don't. And thankfully I get a lot of love from that as well. But yeah, the brand Property Apprentice. So it was just when I started off my Instagram handle, I thought, oh, okay, what would be a good way of trying to attract people to get into property? And then the Property Apprentice just it was just a natural fit. And then as time got on, like you said, it started getting traction, started to get followers, and then Instagram stories came along. Because when Instagram started, Instagram stories wasn't even a thing. It was just all pictures. And then when stories came on, I thought, oh, let's give this a go. And then that really started to blow up. And yeah, that's kind of what I think I'm known for now, is my crazy letting agency stories. But yeah, and then obviously as well, I try and bake in my like brand values. So that's obviously hard work, property, and good vibes. So yeah, like you, Nick, I love like house techno tune, and
Yes,
yeah,
the house music,
going.
mate.
It's got to keep me going.
Boom,
That's
boom,
it.
boom,
Yeah.
boom. Early in the morning. I've got to say, like, I was there was a time there where I was literally like, you were my motivation for the day. Like, so like I don't really buy into, you know, some people it's like Tony Robbins and all that. I'm not really into all that shit, to be honest with you. But if I can like connect with somebody who's doing something similar to what I'm doing, and they're really going for it, then that's what kind of gives me the motivation. Buzz, I think that's where Stephen steps in as well, because like Stephen, like you, he's on stories, he's doing, you know, he's walking the walk, he's out there, he's investing, he's just completed on a fucking massive HMO today. It's going to be an HMO in Aberdeen. You're going to see that. You are going to see that like as he progresses through.
I'm going to see that sledgehammer come out today, like.
Yeah, I love the sledgehammers. Yeah, it's the best.
Fucking rip out part's the most fun part, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for me, that's what it's all about, you know. And like, I just can't be doing with just seeing all this kind of this fluff. So yeah, I mean, talk to us a little bit about, you know, you obviously your money can only go so far. So you've done a bit of joint venture projects as well. And has that come off the back of obviously building up this kind of huge following that you've got? Has this brought you opportunities? And talk a little bit about the joint ventures where you've managed to kind of expand your portfolio.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. So all my JVs, bar 2, have come through Instagram. So I've got about 8 JV partners that I work closely with, and I like that number. It's a nice number to work with. I don't want to work with absolutely everyone because it can get messy and a bit and a bit hairy sometimes. So that 8 is great. The 2 that didn't, one came through Homes Under the Hammer. Funny enough, he hunted me down through that. And the other one I worked with at Disney when I was in the corporate world. We were on the bus together. We got talking, and I said I was in property, and yeah, she saw what I was doing, and that was it. But yeah, all the rest, the other 6 have all been through Instagram, and they're the recent ones as well. And that got to a point where I sourced the property for a friend of mine, and I sourced it for him for like $5,000, Nick. And this was I put my heart and soul into it, as you'd expect, and that generated him $22,000 a year. And I sold it, and I felt shortchanged, Nick, because I sold it to him for $5,000, and he got all of his money out. And I'd never done that before. And I was like, I've just sold this to him, and it's an absolute cash machine. So I thought, I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing that. So I literally got on the phone on a viewing. I said, look, guys, I'm doing the numbers. I got my spreadsheet out and stuff. I said, look, if anyone's interested, let me know. Thinking nothing will come of it. Literally, Nick, I had about 30 messages saying, Craig, love what you're doing. Send me the numbers. I'll run through it. Obviously, I siphoned through a lot of that. A lot of them were tire kickers, or they had like $5,000, $10,000, whatever. But yeah, there was one guy on there who's a doctor. He's been following me for about 3 years. He was based in Medway Hospital, and he said, yeah, I've got a business partner, and we're looking to get into property, and yeah, we'd rather you just manage it, which suits us because we're quite time poor, but we've got cash. So they came to my office. I showed them around all my other developments, and that was it. They handed over the cash, and we're still doing deals today. But yeah, it's powerful stuff, mate. Yeah.
And obviously, like, you know, there is a lot of people we speak to, people that come on the podcast that have had nightmares with joint ventures, and, you know, things have gone really badly wrong. So if you got any tips to listeners about what they can do, kind of like, you know, protect themselves, so like what kind of due diligence do you do? How do you build up that relationship where you can actually, you know, enter into a business partnership or business agreement with somebody, you know?
Yeah. So basically what the kind of due diligence that I do is I want to know that they're homeowners is the first and foremost one. Their income, I want to see proof of income, and obviously their credit score, and I've got to have proof of funds as well. That's kind of it. But then I have like a terms, like a terms of condition agreement, which basically states that I'm in full control. Like I've got the power team, I've got the knowledge, I've got the agency. It all comes through me. I have the final say on all the decision. You are literally the cash investor, and as soon as it's up and running, you start getting paid back. You can be part of the process. You can learn the process. You can learn what I do, but I make the decisions. And as long as they're happy with that, which a lot of them are, because like I said, they, as much as they're cash poor, time poor, cash rich. So they don't want to get involved. They just want to see that they're getting a good return, and their money is parked with someone who knows what they're doing. So, so as long as you've got those kind of two things in place, I think you can't go far wrong, because then, yeah, I think it does get messy if you say you're in charge of this bit, or you're in charge of the interior, or you have to source the agency and stuff like that, because that they've got different agendas and maybe conflict of interest. Whereas I'm saying, look, this is how we're going to do it. These are the results, and once we hit them, that's when you get paid back. It's really straight laced, and I think if you move away from that, it gets messy, and you get into problems.
Do they own a share of your business then, in the properties, or do they just cash investors only? They get paid a return, and when they want their money back out, you refinance, or?
So basically, so how I structure it is that with the JV stuff is that we're 50-50 owners from the start. Okay, but I don't take a penny out of the deal. Okay, so it's in my best interest to make sure that the property is renovated as good as possible to achieve the top rent, because ultimately I only take money once they've all paid back. So let's just say, for example, they pump in 100 grand. I won't see a penny profit of that until they're paid back first. So like I said, it's in my interest to make sure I've added the most amount of value, it's cost effective. I've got the good tenants in there paying all the rent, because ultimately that comes off my profit. So I'm not going to see a return for like, I don't know, four years. That's what I kind of bake into it. But then after that 4 years, I've got half a 400 grand house as opposed to just 5 grand. Do you know what I mean? So it was a no-brainer. It's the long-term play for me on that. And they're happy because they know, well, if Craig ain't going to take any money out of it, because we're getting paid back first. And so any refinance as well, that goes to them. So so as soon as we've done the project, we refinance it, they get their 50 grand injection, they're happy, and then they start seeing the rent coming in. So that's kind of how I structure it.
Yeah, that's good, mate. And you say you've got about eight partners you do that as well.
That's right. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
No, nice one. I mean, that's the power of social media, isn't it? And it's, a lot of people, you'll get this all the time, like people reach out to you, or you'll meet people at events, and they'll just be like, they'll be like, Craig, I feel like I know you, like I know you so well already, like, 'cause I've watched it for years. This is like the connection that I'm feeling at the moment towards you. I feel like I pretty much know you, although I've never met you before. Do you know what I mean? So like,
I know. It's exactly that, and it's mad to think that I've built up JV partners who hand over hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of cash just over the phone. But then that's just part of it. It's obviously coming to meet me, seeing what I've built, and then building the credibility behind the scenes. That's obviously the other part of it. But making that initial connection, social media is a powerful tool.
Yeah, take us back to the start of it, mate. I was interested to hear about your dad being like involved in property. What was his kind of strategy, and what did he do? And was that a huge influence for you growing up then, like looking at that and getting involved?
So my dad was like the old school strategy, basically. So he just basically bought an old, like, crappy house, lived in it, renovated it, sold it on, moved into a bigger, better location, exactly the same. And basically that's what I saw. So I was helping him with like everything, like roofing, painting, basic plumbing, everything, like anything that needed doing. I was across it helping him out on weekends, sourcing materials, anything. And that's kind of, at the time I was just like oh, sorry gents, at the time I was just like, I'm just doing this to help my dad out and earn a bit of cash. But little did I know it was giving me tools that I could use later on. Yeah. So that's kind of that was his model. Like, he didn't want to rent out properties. He didn't know it. And in fact, when I mentioned like refinance and remortgage to him, he was like, oh no, you'd be paying like $5 grand fee and all the rest of it. I'm like, yes, but Dad, it's all about return on investment, stuff like that. That was literally his vision. It was just like, no, get my hands in, add the value, sell it, move on to bigger and better.
I remember my dad doing something similar. Like, you remember like the first apps that came out where you can see like all your credit scores and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
10 years ago or something. I remember my dad like getting all excited when my personal debt hit £1 million, and my dad's like, "You're off your fucking head. Like, are you all right?" And I'm like, "Aye, but that means I've got £250,000 equity, and if I keep fucking building that, more it'll grow." And never got the debt aspect. Like, was a bit old school as well. Like, just
Yeah.
you,
And that's another thing. Yeah, he wanted to own it in cash rather than debt was like, whoa, stay away from that. Yeah, exactly the same.
but it's cool. It teaches you good lessons and it shows you what's possible. And I suppose it's a great tax efficient strategy doing your own home, renovating it, and then selling it on for a tax free profit, isn't it?
Definitely, and that's something he still does today. He's still doing it today. He's bought and like the thing is, I said to my dad, look, like we've like all these kids have moved out. I was like, why do you need this big fucking house that needs loads of work? I was like, just chill out and come and do some more jobs for me. But he was like, not having none of it. He's
Still loves it.
stuck in his ways. Yeah, that's it. But
and so was a lot of your upbringing then growing up in the building sites, looking like doing the work as well, like in the house you lived in?
Literally, like that was kind of my part-time job. So I've said this before in other podcasts. So the school I went to was like the worst school in England. Like I kid you not, it was statistically the worst school. I know people say, "Oh, I went to a shit school." I went to the shittest school in England, where like statistically, I think it was like 5% of the year got grades A to C in GCSE. It was bad. So that was no fault of my dad. My dad didn't know that. He just moved to an area because he got a great deal on a house. And so,
that was the reason why it was such a good deal, because nobody wanted to live there.
and then I got lumbered in this secondary school, which lo and behold was the worst school. And I think he saw like the people that went to the school when he dropped me off at houses and they were in council estates and stuff like that. And he was like, no, you're not hanging around with people outside school. You're coming to work with me. And like it's been absolutely invaluable because it's like I said, it's just built up those tools. And at the time I just thought, oh, it's just me getting a bit of money and just helping my dad out. But it gave me the tools that progressed to where I am now. So
what would you think was the motivation then for the building the assets and creating the wealth then and getting that kind of return on investment?
For my dad?
Not from you, like what do you think? What kind of, because obviously you could have easily followed in your dad's footsteps and went in there like flips, development, new builds, commercial, residential. But what kind of do you think was the moment that you kind of the kind of light bulb moment, I suppose, to go, fuck, I'm going to hold all these things because these will go up over value and I'll get rental income every month from it?
Well, exactly that. It was just the long-term game. Like I said, I'm very long-term. Like I'm only 34, so I'm thinking, right, the exit game is 50. So anything I can land grab and just acquire up until then so be it. But then do it. I just think, why would I sell it if I'm buying an asset and it's generating me income and I can refinance it and get my money out and then go again? It just doesn't make sense because as soon as I sell that, I've got to pay tax and then I lose that income and you're kind of starting again from scratch. So everything that I've bought, I've held.
Yeah, back then though, that was like before like social media and all that. So like, how did you kind of educate yourself and all that? Did you just watch? Was it literally just like Homes Under the Hammer or something like that? Was it?
I loved Homes Under the Hammer. Yeah, that was a big source, and that was another thing as well. My dad used to watch it. And he used to size himself up to the other developers going, oh, why have they done that? Or they've spent way too much on that, or they've been robbed and all the rest of it. So again, it was a good gauge on prices and stuff like that. And that was just like a bonding thing, like eating dinner. That's what my dad would watch.
I think we should throw out there, I think we should start our own Homes Under the Hammer because I'm always sick of how it's fucking an auction. Like most investors I know don't buy at auction. Like you'll get a flip or a buy to let on the open market. They'll go on the stage, and it always fucking annoys me that it's like the whole auction thing. It's like you could do it so much better by not going with like a lot of amateurs and maybe making an arse set on auction as well. So maybe that's fun, part of the fun TV, but I'm pretty sure there's a scope there for giving that program a little shake up, like doing it a bit modern.
Mate, you need to stick to the podcast. You got a face for radio, no for telly, mate.
What, this hair transplants fucking came in now.
Stick to the podcast, mate. Right. I mean, like, obviously, growing up, so you went to this shit school, and obviously there would have been the potential for you then to slip into, the wrong path almost. So, like, do you sort of think you've just managed to, it could have gone wrong for you in so many ways then if you got involved with the wrong crowd and all the rest of it? Did you just have, like, do you think inside you just had this kind of, like, sort of ethics and the sort of good values that your dad kind of instilled in you to kind of drive you on?
100%. It all starts from a solid home, I think. You've got the solid home, then you'll have that moral compass and you kind of navigate. But yeah, absolutely, mate. I was at this school, I kid you not, I was surrounded by poverty, crime, violence. it had loads of like asylum seekers in there, like didn't speak English. You'd rock up one day and you'd be like, who the hell are these guys? And they were just like, yeah, they spoke like very basic English. That was the kind of environment it was. And you wouldn't go to this school to learn and to be like extracurricular or anything like that. You'd go there for and the thing you'd get a kick out of is having street cred or being the hardest in school. Do you know what I mean? Those were your role models. And now I look back and I think, fucking, thank God I got out of school or got away from that environment, because yeah, that's the sad thing is that the guys that I used to look up to, they're all like gangsters now. Do you know what I mean? Or banged up or whatever. So 100%, like, it was good that I went there. I learned so much in terms of being streetwise. That's one thing I could say. That was great. But in terms of academia and seeing where all those people that I went to school with are now, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm glad that my dad saw that kind of what was going on and dragged me out of that, because if he would just let me do that, I would have just got more and more entangled with that, and God knows where I'd be. But yeah, I think that's a valid point.
What was the route for you after school then? Was it, you said you went to university?
Yeah, so I went to sixth form. So basically, what I got some really good grades. Basically, I had a plumbing apprentice that my dad sorted out for me, but that meant staying in the area, and I got some really good grades that surprised me, to be honest. And so I managed to get into sixth form and thought, you know what, I'm going to go to uni and be the first one in my family to go to university. And that's kind of what happened. And then I went to Kent Uni, and that's where I saw the gap in the market. And then again, that's kind of where it all happens. But it's mad how, like you said, you don't really think about it until you ask a question like that, and you think, God, if I'd have just took that plumbing apprenticeship,
yeah,
shit, where would I be? You know what I mean? So
you wouldn't be the property apprentice, you'd be the plumbing apprentice.
yeah, exactly.
And see this grafter mindset, right? You know, big up the grafters, graft, you know, do the hard work. You know, you're up at like 5 a.m. You're, you know, not so much now because you've got the little one, but like back in the days when you would be working through the night and all that, you know, hanging up tellies on the walls and going down to the 24-hour Asda and getting the tellies out and stuff like that. You know, everybody that I speak to that goes on, you know, these property courses and educates themselves and all that, a lot of the content, I'm not saying them all because Stephen does one that's very good, but a lot of them tell you to be the conductor of the orchestra, you know, and you have, like, you're sitting up here making all the decisions, right? You're the property investor. You're not the guy doing all the work and all that, you know. So like, how much of that can be reality, you know, and really how important is it to go in there and get your hands dirty at the start, you know?
So I love it, mate. Like that's why I do it. Like, I absolutely love it, and it's fulfillment at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to, right? If I hated it, I'd outsource it or I'd jack it all in altogether. But I absolutely love it, and it's the fact that I'm turning my vision into a reality. It's like, okay, and it's my bare hands that are doing it, and it's like what is it with depression and stuff like that? A lot of doctors will say, oh yeah, go into the garden and do gardening and stuff like that. It's therapeutic. That's exactly me. I'd rather get a paintbrush out and paint an entire wall and cut in and all that. I find that
they're doing all these fucking smash rooms up down the country where you pay people, you pay 40 quid, you get a pair of safety goggles on, you go and smash up a fucking room. Go and do a refurb rip out. You won't be depressed after that. You'll be
no, exactly.
You'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly that. And you see progress, and it's taking something that was defunct and crap, and you're turning it into something that people appreciate, and they're paying you money for it, and they love it, and they appreciate it, and you're getting paid for it. And so I just think, I don't know how you can do that. Whereas, yeah, if you're the orchestra, that's a lot of people to manage, and there's going to be mistakes, especially as well if you're not local, because that's something that's part of my strategy. I'm never like 10, 15 minutes away, just so I can keep an eye on things, because the amount of things that I've stopped happening because, like you said, unless you're so fine-tuned with your contracts and your planning, and that's great if you are, hats off to you. But sometimes it's just best to just be there. Yeah. You know what's going on, and you can tell people where it's all going, and stop. And as well, once you start working with people, they know what standard you are, where things go, yeah. and it becomes better and better and better.
I think for me, Nick, as well, like it's quite a good point that you made, that the people who teach this whole be the orchestra, and it's a theory based thing, and it's like they'll try and make a one size fits all, whereas like you're saying, Craig, do what you enjoy doing, do what you love doing, you'll be passionate about doing it, rather than if you don't want to sit behind a laptop fucking dealing with solicitors or accountants, and you can get an admin person to do that, and you do this fucking stuff on site that you enjoy doing. It's going to be what you get more satisfaction from doing your business, not what's going to drive it forward ultimately. I mean, you can outsource the other stuff.
Yeah.
And if you sorry, see if you've got the time as well, like when you've not got the family and the kids and all the rest of it, it's a great way to learn. And you know, there's so much content out there, YouTube and all the rest of it. You can literally, you know, build a house off of YouTube now just for the amount of, you know, DIY tutorials and stuff like that. And I just think sometimes as well is it's not even worth sometimes the stress if you don't have a network of trades that you're using all the time. So you actually try to get somebody to do jobs now, you know, tradesmen letting you down, try to rip you off and all the rest of it. If you're doing it yourself, at least you're in control. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to as well. It all depends on your circumstance. Like I was quite lucky. I was young. I had my dad as a good resource, so I kind of used that resource to build my first one. But if you're like 45, looking to get into property at start date, and you've got kids, you've got mortgage, you've got all the rest of it, it's going to be my situation is completely different. He's obviously cash rich, time poor, where I was cash poor, time rich. So I could get my hands dirty, learn. So yeah, I think that comes.
I mean, it's not like you say it's not for everyone. Do you not find though that I mean, what age are you, Craig? Late 30s? 34. All right, you're still pretty young actually. But do you not think that
the kids do change that trajectory of it as well? Because like for a couple of years, like I've kind of been off the tools quite a bit, and it's just because you can't do everything. If you're trying to acquire them and raise the funding and be on site, you can't do it. So I have stepped off the tools, but with this HMO that I've literally just completed on 50 seconds ago when I saw a message come in, we were chatting there. I'm up in Aberdeen to rip out these 7 flats and get them done because there's international students coming in 7 weeks' time. I'm not trying to renovate 7 flats. I'm not that kind of go to contractors. Like that's going to be me getting stuck in up there till midnight tonight. But what I've done is I've fucking pretty much threw my missus under the bus, and she's like, "Who's going to pick up Maya from school? And who's going to do that?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, shit, I forgot about all this stuff." But just used to doing that graft and putting it through. But when you do have kids, it does put a whole different bit of pressure on it as well. That you're not going to be as flexible to do that.
I don't want to be that guy, right? That grumpy old guy is like, oh, the young people nowadays, you know, they're not prepared to put the work in and all the rest of it, right? But I mean, it does seem like the young ones, you know, the 20, you know, early 20s and all that, you'll get them coming into your DMs, mate. They want to know, they want to strip you for how do you become a successful property investor. They're not interested, are they? Like fucking rolling up their sleeves and going to B&Q, fucking painting walls and all the rest of it. They don't want that though, do they?
No, they just want the Lambo, Nick, don't they, with the personalised number plate? That's
exactly.
I know,
and then like it's the same guys. Like you'll be following them, and then they're like, you know, the tagline is property investor or whatever it is, and then like a couple of months later it'll be like crypto expert or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Or life coach. I've seen some. You're like 21. What?
See, to be fair, right, I've got to be honest, right, I did go through a phase that in my younger years, I'd go from fad to fad to fad. So like initially it was like Forex trading. So like I fucking spent money on a course. The guy still pops up my YouTube to this day. The guy that fucking ripped me off for the shitty like workbook that I got through, like thinking I was going to be a millionaire off of currency trading. And then it was like, I got into this mad phase where it was like, because the iPhones came out, right? So I was like, I'm going to import iPhones, sell iPhones. And I set up like an eBay account. Like it was cringe, man. It was like iPhone bargain or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So I was like sourcing all these iPhones, and literally you got guys, because they were the hot thing at the time, you're literally getting guys posting up pictures of like job lots of iPhone boxes, but it was just all a scam. Do you know what I mean? But I did get sucked into all that shit, so I need to hold my hands up.
Is that why you hate property training now, mate?
That's it, because I paid that guy. The guy still comes up my YouTube. His name's like Greg Secker or something like that. He's the other day popped up and it was a video of him in a swimming pool, and the guy's like 60 now or something. But
still selling the dream, mate. Still selling the dream.
That's it. We've all been there though. Like I had an eBay business before property. That's where I got the cash. Yeah, and that was lucky. That was just pure time. And basically, I was selling some old clothes, and this woman reached out to me on eBay, going like in a really broken English, like, "Hi, check out my site, China supplier," and hit the sign. I thought, "Oh yeah, what's this?" So I clicked on it, and it was all like not designer brand, but it was all like Zara, like nice fitting posh stuff. So I thought that's pretty good. And so I said to her, look, can I order some like some testers? And I was the plan was just never pay her when she sent some over. And she sent them over, and they arrived like 10 days later, and they fitted all right. And I remember going out once, and someone complimented me on the shirt, saying, "Oh, where'd you get them from?" And then I just thought, "Oh, well, I sell these." And they were like, "No," and I was like, "Yeah, I sell them." And that's when it started. And so I messaged her, and they were like, "You're talking like £2.50 like a shirt, like a nice, really nice fitting shirt." But we've all been there.
And I think the moral of these stories is, you know, there's no shortcut, guys. Like, you know, these DMs that you're getting, you know, go and spend money on the courses. Yes, educate yourself. Yes, but look, at the end of the day, you're going to need to take the action, do the work.
Yeah, apply, take the action, and put in the hard work. Absolutely. Can we go into some HMO stuff, because obviously I'm excited. I've just completed on this HMO, mate. So I'm in blind here. But in all fairness, it's not a strategy that's big in Scotland. You know, the cities that it does work in are very expensive, and the yield doesn't really work. So it's a popular strategy in England, obviously. But what I think is becoming more apparent now in Scotland is you have to kind of look outside the box. Where now we're going back to the cheap borrowing's gone, so the interest rates are now up. I'm needing to look for these higher income producing strategies. So this is why I'm completing on this one. So I'm kind of keen to talk us through some numbers, mate. Talk us through a couple of, do you know what? Give us the best project and then give us the worst project, so we can get the balanced view on them, I think.
Yeah. So the thing with Scott, I'm glad that you've mentioned that, because something obviously that's coming over the horizon is the white paper, right, in England. So the renters reform bill. So I'm in total agree with 95% of the renters reform bill. I think everything that they've said on there is bang on the money. But the one thing that I disagree with or concerns me is the termination of the fixed term tenancy. So as a student landlord, I can fix those students in for 11-month term, and then I can guarantee the money, even though their course is like 8 or 9 months. Some courses are 7 months, but I know I can lock them in for that tenancy for 11 months. So it works both ways. They get the accommodation and I get the rent, and I can't evict them and they can't leave. However, if they abolish that, which I believe they've done in Scotland, right?
Yeah, we've had that for years, mate. 2017, December, they came in with the PRT. So literally now they can move into a property, and on the same day they can hand in 28 days notice. They can be out within 28 days.
Well, this is it. So for the students, so again, from an experienced student lad, that completely, like, excuse my French, that fucks with the model, because I've had students in the past, they do all their revising, go to seminars, and then they stop for like reading week, and then they try to hand their notice in. They do exactly that. They go, right, don't need the property anymore, Craig. Here's my notice. I'm moving out in 2 months. And I'm like, nice try. You're in a fixed term tenancy. You have to stay until the end. So this is why I'm thinking, well, like, because like I said, I'm getting that now. So once that comes in, or if that comes in, then they move out, say month 7, and I've still got month 8, 9, 10, and 11 and 12 to cover my expenses. But I'm not going to find another student to go in there, because it's midway through the term. So what am I going to do? So yeah, I just thought, that's why. Yeah, what do you guys do?
Well, I've been speaking to the letting agent on the approach to getting this one, and it's probably the same as you start now. I've saw this niche area, complete shit stock in the city centre, and I spoke to the letting agent. I says, what happens right now? Because obviously we are in the PRT and have been for the last 5 or 6 years. So he said a lot of the students, if they really like their property, then they'll ask the landlord, can we do a deal, you know, for the summer months, for the 3 months they bugger off, can we do a deal? And sometimes the landlord say, yeah, okay, we'll pay half rent or something like that. But from my mindset, because the rest, fucking 95% of the stock's absolute garbage, my thought is make it the best student accommodation. It's in a phenomenal location. And when the students come to me in June or May and say, look, can we leave for 3 months, 4 months and come back and get it? I say, no, fuck no. If you want it, there's a whole list of people that want to be in this building because it's the best one. So I'm trying to base my numbers on the full like 11 months, even though technically you're not tied to it, but just through having the best property that they won't want to leave it. Is the only answer I've got for it. I mean, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. I'm soon going to find out right enough, but I don't know.
And I think On you go, Craig. On you go.
Yes, no, because that was my understanding. Because yeah, typically you lock them in for 11 months, and that's the business model, and it works both ways. And yes, they might have to pay 1 or 2 months where they're not yet there, but like you said, they've got that safe environment. But now there's nothing that ties them in because of that fixed term element that's gone.
I think there's a lot of HMOs that I've seen investors do in like Edinburgh and Glasgow, where once the students leave in May or June, they'll put them on Airbnb service accommodation. But we've been slapped with the regulations being brought in, I think, from the 1st of October in Scotland, so that even that's going to prove quite tricky, because I think that's been quite popular over the last few years.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is why there's a crisis up north, is because no one wants to rent to students, because they think, oh, well, you're only going to be here 7 months, so why would I rent to you? I'd rather rent to a professional, and that's why they're crying out for it. But yeah, if you can get them in for that 11-month term, then you're laughing. But that renters reform bill, that's why I'm like, wow, if that bit, the fixed term bit, if that comes in, then obviously you're going to have students trying it.
That could massively affect things. I mean, because I just deal with kind of long-term, just normal, single units, flats and houses. I don't do any HMO at all. But what I do know is, because there's such a shortage of supply of, rented accommodation, and this summer especially, because they had huge oversubscription of foreign students as well, there was just people, like, there were hundreds of inquiries coming in for each property that we listed. So like Stephen says, if you've got students who are maybe there for the course for 3-4 years, then they'll be maybe more inclined to, like you say, just keep paying for those months that they're not there, because they don't want to go through the hassle of starting from scratch again, try to find accommodation, because there's loads of people, it was on the news and everything, with people so stressed about it. We had like parents of students phoning up, crying over the phone, not crying, but like, almost in tears, saying, what do we need to do? What does it take to get accommodation for our kids? Like.
So Nick, so I'll ask you, as a letting agent, as a letting agent for other landlords, would you let students move into, say, one of your buy-to-lets, or would you say, no, I'm going to hold out for a family?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you know what? We're actually, it sounds terrible, but we've had discussions with some landlords, and they're like, yeah, students, no problem, because at the moment we've actually got a rent freeze in Scotland as well. Yeah, so they've frozen the rent, so you can't increase the rent for existing tenancies up to the end of March, and there's talk of this getting extended for another up to 18 months by the Scottish government. So if you
use no live in Scotland, mate.
I put you off investing in Scotland. So but the caveat to that is you can increase the rent when the tenant moves out. So it's almost like some landlords are saying, well, I don't want a long-term tenant now. I actually want a student, because it will give us the opportunity to up the rent when they move out. Do you know what I mean? So it's having, like, this is what the government keep doing up here. They keep on putting in these things, and it's having these unintended consequences and actually having a negative impact on the whole market.
Yeah, exactly that. They haven't thought it through at all.
So, I mean, like you say, it'll be interesting. We should actually try and get some HMO landlords that do operate in Scotland to see how that whole thing with the students has panned out. I don't think it's totally destroyed the model, because there's still plenty of people doing it. Yeah. Well, Stephen's hoping it hasn't destroyed it anyway.
So talk us through a good one then, Craig. How good can the strategy be? Like a really, really good deal that sticks in your head.
So it all depends. For me, it's like the work involved, or you buy it as it is, like as a good deal, and you just sit back. So that's why I kind of judge a deal now, is whether I have to get hands on, get stuck in, put a lot of cash injection and that delayed gratification on the refinance when it comes through, or do I buy something all singing, all dancing? Yes, my money's gonna be left in it a bit, but then it's a long-term play. So more recently, since Sienna's come along, I've swayed towards the latter. So I've bought like a 6-bed HMO, but this 6-bed is literally a 5-minute walk from the uni. So like yourself, it was bang on location. I've rented it out now. It's 600 a room, 6 rooms. It's lovely cash flow. So I paid that because as well the seller sold it with vacant possession, which
nice. So what kind of value is that?
Sorry?
What kind of value property is that then?
That's 400k.
Right, some return on it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd pay 400K for that. But if he would have tenanted it, then you could have added the value of the tenancy. So again, it was a bit of a weird one. So I jumped on that because of the location and because of the price point. So as soon as I've filled that now with 6 people, I could now, if I wanted to, refinance that maybe at 550 and get that commercial mortgage on it. But I've decided not, just because of the rate that we're at the minute. So I'm quite happy to leave my cash in that. So yeah, that's kind of my recent purchase. And then, like, my first one, like, I did a story on it literally last night, actually. I was just reviewing some numbers, and the first project I done, which is the Homes Under the Hammer one, my solo one, that's so well done. Like, it's still got the original, but I've had that for 11 years. It's still got the same bathroom in there, same kitchen. Yes, it's had carpets and furniture redone, but I got my money out of that after year 2. And like I said, it's in its 11th year. So in terms of return on investment, it's an absolute cash cow. So yeah, it just goes to show you, when you do things right and the first time, the long-term hold on it is just
What kind of cash flow does that one bring in then, the first one?
So that's 1,800 a month.
Nice.
That's a 4-bed, 1 bathroom. But again, the location is absolutely bang on with that one. And that's what I try to do, is location's absolutely key.
And do you pay for the utilities for these room by room?
I do, yeah. That's another pain point.
How's that working with the cost of living crisis then?
So that pretty good, because the way I've structured the contract is that we put a quota in place, and that's monitored every month or bi-monthly, depending on when the utility bills come in, and the tenants sign up to it. So if they're over at the end of the tenancy, that means they would have had to ignore every single warning that we've sent them. So we have the right to deduct it at the end of the tenancy if their deposit has that, or if they absolutely abuse it, then we can assign the bills into their name after they've used their annual quota. So, for example, let's say in January they've used £1,000 worth of gas, and that was their annual quota. Then on January we can say, well, look, you've used that, you've ignored all the previous warnings, so therefore the landlord has the right to assign the bills in your name, and there's nothing they can do about it. So
even the smaller properties, the 4-bed one, are they still just on room by room let, not the full property?
Yeah, so we try and stay away from individual tenancies. We try and get them all on one joint AST, and that's because of the security aspect. Because if they're all on one joint AST, they're all severally liable for the rent. So if Joe Blogs says, "Oh, Craig, I'm not paying," I've got 2 options. If I can go after him directly or his guarantor, or I can say to the other group, "Look, you're on a joint AST. His credit score or his guarantor's credit score is shit. Therefore, you guys have to pay it," and there's nothing they can do about it, because that's the whole point of a severally joint liable tenancy, and that's why I love students over professionals.
And is there a point of property size where that becomes like not feasible? Like, I don't know, 6 people sharing, like they can always group together and share a property.
So again, with that 6-bed that I told you about just then, I've got 6 people all on one AST on that.
Oh, yeah.
So the key is getting a group of friends together. That's the key, and that's why I love students, is because they come as a group, and they all want to live together. They all know each other and all the rest of it. Whereas professionals, they're quite bitty. It comes in one room, they leave, and it's quite bitty. But yeah, in terms of once and that's another thing not many people talk about, is like the dynamics of the house. With students, it's fantastic 9 times out of 10, because they all know each other. Whereas with professionals, you're putting strangers with strangers, like the Big Brother house. You don't know how they're going to react until
shagging or they're fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Let's we've not got much time left for you, Craig. So let's finish up here. Your latest content, you're spreading the doom and gloom, mate, in the news. Well, this is something that I'm a bit of a news junkie as well, right? And this is something that I have a bit of a laugh.
I'm going to unfollow both of you.
Right, so this, I love this, because Craig comes out, right, and there'll be a story about, I don't know, property prices on the downturn, market set to crash, rising interest rates. Craig will put a story up, and you put a certain soundtrack over the top of it.
The Death Horns, yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck, man! It's like you always know it, and then you're like, it really puts you in a depressed state of mind. But no, I actually think it's really good, because it's fucking important stuff, right? So this is stuff that they're not teaching you on the courses, really. And are you getting people reaching out to you saying, "Oh, Craig, why are you spreading all this doom and gloom and all that? You know, like, used to be such a positive person and all the rest of it. And how are you kind of dealing with that? And why are you putting this stuff on there?"
Yeah, so basically, I do get messages saying, "Oh, yeah, why are you saying that? You've got like an agenda to crash the market and all the rest of it." I'm like, please, if I had the power to crash the market, I'd have some following, let me tell you. But I just say, look, I follow the data, right? That's what it all comes down to. And it's not like I'm making these decisions. It's not like I'm doom mongering and saying, "Oh yeah, property prices are going to go down to zero," because that's based on fuck all facts. That's based on theory. That's just gobbledygook. Whereas I'm saying, no, there is going to be a crash between 15 and 25%. Here's the data. Here's the clues, and this is my theory. That's what I'm doing. Yes, obviously the death horns and stuff like that make it a bit dramatic and stuff. That's why I tune in. But yeah.
See what I find fascinating, right? Because you've got there's so many people on there trying to talk it up, right? And like say, don't listen to the media, don't listen to the doom and gloom. You know, like it's overreaction. It's as usual. The media are blowing it up and all the rest of it. But these same people, these are the people that are trying to sell you the 20 grand course.
Exactly,
remember,
yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Agenda, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And then that's it. And you got to see through that. It's, I think, yeah. I mean, fair enough. And this is what I said. So the guy that called me out, the one guy, he said, "Oh, no, have a look at this article." And it said, "Oh, how mortgage rates are coming down slightly or whatever." And I was like, okay, so you're completely disregarding every other bit of data that I've put out there based on one little fact. And when I broke that article down, interest rates have gone up 1,100% from 0.1 to 3% as a percentage of an increase. That's 1,100%, which is a fuck off increase. So that's just one part of it, Nick. But yeah, it's trying to, like I said, I'm not offended if people want to say, "Oh, you're wrong." That's fine. But I'm just saying, I'm having the guts to say, look, this is why I think it's this. It's because of the data, and this is my theory. I'll hold my hands up. If property prices carries on going up, I win anyway. Like that's no problem to me. I want house prices to go up more than anyone. But again, it's just what I'm reading, and the more you understand the macro, you kind of you'll see it coming.
I just think we should be excited anyway, because like you say, if it goes up, we win. If it goes down, then there's opportunities. So
opportunities, absolutely. We're a win-win.
Yeah, we're looking for. I'm actually excited for 2023. I mean, just to end, like, you know, let's get your predictions on, you know, where is the market going to go? Like you said, what is it, a 15% drop?
Yeah, exactly. Between 15 and 20%. That's kind of where I'm thinking. Yeah, every offer that I put in now, so I'm viewing properties at the minute is 15% minimum.
And where do you think interest rates, like in terms of mortgage interest rates, where can we sort of see them sort of settling? Like, do you think we're, you know, there's some people talking of like, you know, 8-9% mortgage rates. Are we going to see that? I mean, surely not.
No, well, ultimately it all depends on inflation, right? But I doubt it. That's very extreme. I think the new norm is going to be about 5% once it all balances out. After all is said and done, I think 5% is going to be the new, which again is a fucking big increase, considering that we were used to like 2% and 3%. You know what I mean? So, and that's the thing. The reason why demand has dropped off like 40% in the last couple of months is because people are being priced out of the market. They can't afford to buy what they wanted to buy, and they're scared, and that's a knock-on effect. And everything is down. Like all the stats are down. What you'd rely on to buy property. The only thing that's up, and I'm keeping an eye on it, is the employment number. The employment number is still strong. But there's only a matter of time until that comes down, and that's when we'll see the drop in prices, I think.
Yeah, no, I love it as well, mate. I had to actually, Bloomberg Radio got banned in my house because I was just having it on all the time, like so.
Yeah, brilliant. But again, it's good. That's a good source of information. It's not like you're listening to some like doom-monger. It's data.
See, the people that say don't listen to the media and all that, it's a load of rubbish. Generally, there is rubbish in the media, but it's usually like the tabloids and all the rest of it. If you've got good sources of information, like, I don't know, like, you know, the broadsheets, the Financial Times, Bloomberg, you know, that sort of thing, then it's good quality data, like you say. It's not, they're not just making it up. The only problem with the data is there's usually a lag effect.
100%. That's the big thing we've got to look at now. That it's saying that there's 40% drop in demand, but that's a month, maybe two more flag.
There's more than that. That's just what's coming out. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So future for you, mate. Just going to see what happens with this. Obviously, the latest changes in legislation. Just going to kind of let the dust settle for a bit. Concentrate on the family.
So yeah, just the caveat. I'm not saying don't buy. I'm saying buy, but bake in those 15%, 20% discounts, because that's the last thing you want is to buy, and then all of a sudden you've got my doom horns going. I told you so. But no, I'd never do that. But yeah, that's what basically I'm saying is I'm still buying. Make sure the numbers stack, but bake in those discounts. That's the key.
It's funny. I was at a charity event on Saturday, and I was getting the same ripping from people that they don't know you. You just see people eyeballing you from across the room, and then a few drinks in, they'll come up and speak to you. I've got your Instagram. I follow you. I want to just say bullshit and all your stuff. Dude, fucking go for it. I was like, it's only my opinion. It's only what I'm doing. And I work for this and I work for this equity firm. Blah blah. Properties, and they start talking about cycles, and it's surely it's going to crash. And I just said, look, you must think that I'm just buying like fucking everyone else. I'm not buying at the market value, whenever the market value is. I'm factoring numbers, and it's done on due diligence of where the market's at. So, like you say, if anyone's saying don't do it, don't buy or buy, it's like you should be fucking always buying with your own numbers and your own due diligence in mind. And if like you say, if you think there's going to be a 15% drop or 25%, that gets factored into how you're purchasing in the first place.
Yeah, and this is the thing, because I've seen people that say, "Oh, we're in the 18-year property cycle," and the people that have said that, they've got some good following, and basically, I was like, "What? Why are you basing like property on a theory, on an 18-year property cycle theory, which doesn't factor in real life and real day events such as COVID, war, Trump going into power, all of that?" It's like, yeah, we're in the 18-year cycle. We've still got 4 years of growth, and I'm like, 4 years of growth, no chance.
Yeah, they've also just launched a multi-million pounds property investment trust. So they need people who keep investing. Exactly, everyone's got an agenda, mate. Listen, one last time, give it to us.
Big up the Grafters.
Yes.
Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And we will send you the link when it's out. Hope you enjoyed the interview. As always, guys, we really appreciate your support. Tag us on Instagram and share the podcast with everybody that you know. And we'll have our networking events, as always, first Wednesday of each month.
Yeah, looking forward to them. They are not pausing in December and January. They're going right through on the first Wednesday of every month throughout Scotland. So we've got Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, and Dundee. Check them out, guys. They've been really, really good.
All tickets available on our website, scottishpropertypodcast.co.uk. Speak to you again next week. Bye for now.
Thanks a lot, guys.